Welcome to Malifaux University. 107. Measuring Distance. Distance in Malifaux is measured in inches. As mentioned before, you'll need a small ruler or measuring tape in order to play. There are some games out there where if you measure distance, it counts as your move and you'll have to follow through. In Malifaux, you're encouraged to pre-measure before you decide on an action to make sure you'll actually be in range for that action. Just don't use measuring as a stalling tactic. That's bad sportsmanship. To keep things simple when you're first starting out, make sure that all the terrain you're using is just one level and simply blocks line of sight. Don't have stairs to climb, piles of boxes, or ancient ruins you can put a model on. Just keep everyone on ground level. There are additional rules involved when models are on terrain or measuring distance through terrain. We'll get to those in a later video. When you measure distance, measure from the closest point of the base of the model to the closest point of the base of the target model. If you're measuring from a model to an object, measure to the closest point of that object, even if it doesn't have a base. For example, Fuhatsu is targeting the doppelganger with his Gatling gun, which has a 12-inch range. He measures from his base to hers, and the distance between them is only 11 inches. He may fire. If any part of the base of the model you're targeting is within the range of the attack or ability you're trying to use, then the model is in range. This is why keeping models on their listed base sizes is so important. Many models have arms, weapons, and other bits that extend well beyond the edges of their bases. You don't measure to the model, measure from base to base at all times. Sometimes a game effect will say the target must be completely within a certain range. When that happens, you measure to the far side of the target's base. If any part of the base is outside that distance, it's not in range. For example, Anya Lycarian's Bleeding Edge bonus action says she gets to drop a scheme marker completely within range. The range of this action is 6 inches, so we measure from the closest point of Anya's base in the direction she wants to place the marker. The outer edge of that scheme marker cannot be outside that 6-inch range, but she can place it anywhere within that 6 inches. To keep your games friendly, if your measurement is close to being in range or out of range, ask your opponent to measure and verify. If he agrees with your measurement, then you're in business. If the distance is still in question, get a third opinion and go with it. Base contact is a term used frequently in this and other miniature warfare games. In Malifaux, it means the bases of two models or objects are literally in contact with one another. If their bases are overlapping, such as when a model is standing on top of a corpse or scheme marker, that also counts as being in base contact. If it is not possible to actually make base contact because of the sculpt of the model, but it would otherwise legally happen, place the models as close as possible, and make sure you and your opponent both understand that the models are in base contact for all intents and purposes. If you can, perhaps rotate the models so the pointy bits are facing away from each other and the bases can make contact. The directions the models are facing matters in some other miniature warfare games, but not in Malifaux. Also note that base contact is used for models and other models or objects. A single model is not in base contact with itself. That's the overview of measuring distance. Pick up a printable set of all the markers and tokens you need to play Malifaux in the Wargames Vault. If you haven't already, join our Patreon for early, ad-free access to all new content, and be sure to visit the Malifaux University gift shop for the latest in Malifaux-themed shirts, hoodies, drinkware, and more. Links are in the notes below. And remember, play friendly games, keep it simple, and have fun.